General quarters.
Torpedo spotted. Target hit. We hit the enemy. Nice shot. Locked on. Nice shot. Good job.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today we are looking at a Tier 9 ship, and this is the Sejong in the Pan-Asian Scout Cruiser Tech Tree line. Now, when it comes to Tier 9 ships, there's sort of two variants, because the Tier 9 grind to Tier 10 can be a little bit time consuming, and these ships aren't cheap. And Tier 9 ships and Tier 10 ships are using the same type of blueprint. So you can be very, very sorely tempted to say, you know what, I'm going to expend free XP to get through Tier 9 and just save my blueprints and get up to Tier 10. But there are also Tier 9 ships which are actually really, really good. And especially battleships tend to struggle a little bit, but on the smaller scales you often find Tier 9s that are actually not quite that bad and can be thoroughly fun to grind through. One thing that comes to mind, for example, would be the Neptune and the British light cruiser tech tree. The Neptune is an excellent Tier 9 ship and has been great fun to play. And at sometimes I actually prefer the Neptune over the Minotaur at some games, especially if you can get yourself into a Tier 8 game, because she's a bit of a monster in that regard compared to the Edinburgh. But I digress, because we are talking about the Sejong. Now, the Sejong is sort of a what-if ship. It's a Super Atlanta, Super Juno sort of light cruiser, AA cruiser, that the Americans may have built and that the Americans might have given then to the South Korean or Republic of Korean Navy. And as such, she is flying the Republic of Korean flag as well. We get the typical layout with destroyer caliber guns, both forward and aft, and plenty of AA guns all around on a ship that has only ever heard of the word armor, but never actually really gotten the hang or the idea of it and decided that it wasn't worth it. So let's begin by comparing this thing to the Jinan at tier 10. Because obviously that's the big question. How is the progression? Is it worth doing that? Now, for obvious reasons, the Sejong is going to be not as good as the tier Jinan because it's a tier 10 ship. But how much difference is there? And it starts already when we're looking at the ship skills, because for all intents and purposes, if we are subtracting a single defensive AA skill, she's got the exact same ship skills as the Jinan has. And given that the AA skill is one that we can use a commander to just backfill, although that is a question. If you want to take the, and a big question, if you want to take that, but we'll get to that later. But you could if you wanted to get up to 4 without too much trouble. Other than that, it's completely the same. Obviously, she gets a little fewer hit points, and yes, the armor is just there to make sure that battleship shells don't overpenetrate and explode right in the citadel of the ship. She's not quite as fast. The maneuverability is pretty similar. And she does get 6 twin guns, albeit with a slightly slower reload. And they don't quite do as much damage. But the difference isn't massive. So you get an extra turret at the expense of a 5-second base reload compared to a 3.7-second reload and a slightly shorter range. You don't get quite as many torpedoes, and they don't have quite as much of a range, but you get a 14-second faster reload on the torpedoes. And that can make up for quite a bit, actually. Plus, you do have the torpedo reload boosters, which means that you can spit out a fair amount of torpedoes. The AA is very good. It's not quite as good as a Jinan, but it's reasonably close to it. And the concealment is actually better than in the Jinan. So the Sejong, at least on paper, is an excellent tier 9 scout cruiser. So, how have I set her up? You get the choice between main battery reload and AA damage. Now, here's the thing. If there's no carrier in the game, boosting your AA damage obviously doesn't make an awful lot of sense. If there is a carrier in the game and you want to, you need to get into positions, having a bit more AA is a good thing, especially that these ships have the Def AA 3, and that boosts the small caliber by 200%. So while we're not getting the range bonus, the small caliber AA range on this ship is actually very good with 3 kilometers. So just upping the damage to 270 effectively gets you up to tier 10, to the tier 10 AA that we have on the Jinan. That said, the alternative with getting the guns to be better is a good one as well. So because again, if there's no carrier, then this doesn't give you anything. So this is really anybody's choice here. I've personally gotten the AA specialization just because I am assuming that there will be a bit of an AA buff. I think the Pan-Asian light cruisers weren't yet included in the 6.5 AA buff. I might be wrong. I'm going to have to look it up. But otherwise, they might be getting one in 7.0. So this could get quite interesting. And I do like myself some AA play with these things. Which gets us to the equipment. Now, I am using main battery mod 2. If you wanted to go for a full AA set, you could use the auxiliary modification, which doesn't do anything for secondary batteries because these ships don't have any, but gives you a 7% range. Now, this is sort of the set that you can go. So you can either go all in on guns, which is good. You can go all in AA, which is good if you're facing carriers, but not so good otherwise. Or you can do a kind of mix and match as you want. You could also go with the main battery mod 3 for more precision. But given that you've got 6 gun turrets, may as well make them shoot a bit faster. And yes, I am running concealment builds on these ships because these are scout cruisers. These are extremely lightly armored. They're basically tier 9 and 10 Atlantas for all intents and purposes. And the Atlanta is already extremely squishy at tier 7. So can you imagine what the large caliber guns are doing here to these ships? You can be pretty much probably one-shot by a lot of the larger cannons out there if they can get a good broadside salvo in on you. So not being is a virtue. Camo. Historical camo, if you elect to take it, gives you, interestingly enough, torpedo range and speed. Now, torpedo speed, yep, I'll take it. It's nice to have. It's not a massive buff, but 4% torpedo range is quite nice. It also gives you minus 4% surface detection. So definitely not your standard, oh yeah, torpedo damage reduction. Here you go. Thanks for the gold kind of camo. And with that, we are getting ourselves at a 4.75 second gun reload. We have the torpedo range of 9.3 kilometers. And we have a surface detection down to 7.2 kilometers, giving us a relatively comfortable range in which to stealth torpedo. And oh boy, have these things a lot of torpedoes. I mean, she can effectively, with the torpedo reload booster, put 20 torpedoes in the water. Now, they are side-mounted, so you do have to turn the ship around, but still, that is a lot of torpedo firepower that you have in these things. It comes at a price. But as you may notice, I am also running the high-grade coal instead of the preventive maintenance, because really I don't need the extra 3% hit points. I don't have any hit points to begin with. I'd rather take the extra surface detection. So that only comes in once you're in the game. Now, commander-wise, that's what I talked about earlier. I'm actually using more of a destroyer setup here, because I play these things more like oversized destroyers. You could get yourself an extra air defense alert with the battlefield support. And it does make sense in some of the lower tiers. Unfortunately, once you're at the Jinan, you have 4. And you don't really need 5 def AAs on these things. In return, you're losing the torpedo alert. And given that you have no sonar, having an earlier detection on enemy torpedoes is a good thing if you want to engage destroyers. Especially if you are using the legendary commander that I have here. So on my personal account, I think I've gone with the torpedo alert because, and I don't have that commander, unfortunately. I would love to, don't have him yet. Because, again, I'm in a cruiser, I've got lots of guns, I would like to engage destroyers, and I don't have sonar. So having extra torpedo detection is a good thing. That said, the def AA skill is a no-brainer. Same goes for the exploit weakness, and same goes for the Mistweaver. This commander has a special skill. So usually, traditionally, you would probably be using here, I don't know, you'd be using Honor Seeker or Compartment Maintenance. But he's got the Torpedo Reload Expert skill, which gives you an extra torpedo reload and a 25% cooldown time. The buff, yeah, that's neat. I would traditionally probably be using APCS on these because they arc as destroyer caliber guns. I've just put the IFVG Plus here because it's a legendary skill, and it always feels kind of wrong not to take them. But in all honesty, APCS Plus is probably the better, or APCS is probably the better skill to use, because you are not going to penetrate battleship deck armor with the HE either way. And Giant Hunter again is the obvious skill that you want to pick. I've got 2 battles for you. One with a more reasonable setup, and one in the, you know what, I'm keeping this ship, and despite her being tier 9, I'm still going to play it setup because I have sunk all the money in the world in it. But it's not my money because I'm playing on a press account. But if you were doing this, that's what it would look like. So, the Sejong, the probably, by the numbers, really, really good tier 9 scout cruiser on the Pan-Asian line. The first round is a 5v5. We are playing base capture on Hourglass against Großer Kurfürst, Yamato, Iowa, a Jinan, and a Shimakaze. Now I've picked this battle because, well, there's a Jinan in the enemy team. And obviously it's a tier 10 game, so it's interesting to see how well this ship can, perform in a tier 10 battle. We're spawning on the right flank, and we'll see if that was a bot cruiser or if this was an actual player that's sitting there with me. But I'm gonna go forward, narrow spread, and yeah, that's a botty bookie. So I'm gonna hang back and position myself behind the island there and see if we can get some of the things out of the way that come into play early on. So in a Pan-Asian scout cruiser, you have to be really careful with knowing your angles and knowing who's shooting at you and where the threat's coming from, because especially if you're playing at these high tiers. If you're being shot at by something like a Vermont, or Kremlin gets a lucky roll on the dispersion, or Christopher Columbus or similar stuff, you're effectively got destroyer armor. You're playing in Atlanta, more or less, like a bigger one, but yeah. Okay, we have the enemy Jinan over there. So hello Jinan, I'm unspotted, which means that there is no destroyer on this flank, because I'm unloading, and if there was a destroyer in a more forward position than the Jinan, he would be spotting me. Jinan has immediately stopped. Now there is something out there that is spotting me at this point. That could be either the Jinan or something else, but he's reversing and against the botty bookie, which means that the Shimakaze gets a torpedo drop off on him, but that's a Jinan. He's not going to be he's not going to be taking torpedoes if he can avoid it, but he is sort of backed off against the island, so he's using his fuel smoke, and sitting in his fuel smoke isn't really going to help him. Okay, there's the Iowa out there. So Bochimakaze, that was probably the one spotting me initially, has gone down. Double fire on the Iowa. Is he damoconing that? I mean, I don't mind if you're not. Triple fire on the Iowa. Okay, I'll let it tick. And there are some Jinan torpedoes. That's what I meant with... Okay, he's Damacon. That's what I meant with not having a sonar and having to know that... and having to pay attention where torpedoes are coming in, and having a bit of an earlier warning. Now, I'm trying to set some permafires here on the Iowa, but I obviously do have to be careful with that Jinan over there. Because while I do have a Shimakaze, if I need to do a turn, I really don't want to be blapped from the other side. Now, deep water torpedoes can absolutely hit cruisers, so I am dropping my torpedoes against the Jinan, and then I'm using the fuel smoke to cover my turn and get out of there. And then, yes, the Jinan is shooting at me, so there are going to be torpedoes. Yep, there they come. Oh, that wasn't a bad drop, and I have the unfortunate position that I'm right smacked up in the middle of it, so I'm actually probably going to be I'm going to take two. And how much we've got? One. Yeah, we've just got one hit in return on the Jinan. So I was right in the middle of that drop, so I couldn't dodge the two overlapping ones. Now I've got a battleship here. I've got a Shimakaze, and we are facing the Iowa and the Jinan. Which means I am not really going to be able to capitalize on anything and on the Iowa's Damacon, because we do have to get that Jinan out of the way, because he's honestly the bigger threat. An Iowa bow in at this long range, if I don't give him broadside, isn't that much of a threat, to be honest. I've switched to the armor piercing, and the reason for that is, even though I don't have the APCS, this is a Jinan. These things don't have any armor. Now I'm a little at a disadvantage in terms of hit points, but Shimakaze, I think, just got a hit in. And there comes the Iowa, yep. I do have to be somewhat careful and not give him broadside, otherwise bad things happen. So Jinan's just taken a Shima Torp, which is good. And yes, that's what I meant with no, you don't actually have sonar anyway. And we're still playing this at long range, and the Iowa, I'm just dropping denial torpedoes. Oh yeah, that reloads the one that's already furthest ahead on reload. I'm just dropping denial torpedoes here and dodging Iowa shots. Got a hit in, 2 hits in, but I don't know how much further the Iowa is going to be able to retreat. Okay, given that the Jinan is now going defensive, I am going to, and I should be able to turn. Yeah, I'm unspotted, so I can turn. I can turn without. That's a blind shot from the Iowa, not bad. Torpedoes? No, torpedoes don't have range, unfortunately. But yeah, Iowa is being careful. It is out there, so I'm being careful and I'm using the fuel smoke. We're still one player ahead here on this flank, but we haven't really managed to break through. So it's not a bad defense on their side. Shimakaze is joining in on the game, and obviously I don't know what that battleship on our side is doing. Oh, it's firing SAP at an Iowa. Yeah, okay. That's a fire on the Iowa. Again, need to be careful with Jinan torps and with Iowa's guns here, because I am a one-shot kill for the Iowa, but we've got double fire on him now. And there comes the fire from the Jinan, so I'm just going defensive again at this point. There comes the fire from the Iowa. Yep, can't afford to go aggressive there, but I think Shima might have gotten the Iowa. Yep, Shimakaze got him with the torpedoes. Nicely played, Shima. That's the last Iowa salvo that's coming over. But now I've got a fuel smoke, and I've already switched to the armor piercing against the Jinan. Obviously there are going to be torpedoes in the water, so I am dropping my torpedoes just in case that I don't survive this. But I'm really not after trying to get a torpedo hit on that guy. I'm trying to get him with the guns, really. But I do need to kite away now because, yeah, hit point advantage. But the Jinan is, yeah, dead. So all I need to do is actually survive that return fire, and he hasn't learned to use armor piercing. So we've rolled up this flank. We're 1 kill ahead. We've got a minute left to play, and we're being capped. Okay. The one thing I really need... Oops, well, there's fire coming in from the other side. I don't know what that was, but I don't want to be hit by it. That was probably battleship fire. So there's a destroyer and 2 battleships out there. I need a run away button, because what we need to do now is not defend the base, because they're not going to cap. We're leading on points. They're not going to cap in 30 seconds. The only way they can win is if that Seattle suicides. So no, don't defend the base. Go away, run away. Don't get spotted. Hide behind an island. We're going to win in 20 seconds unless you die. That's the only way the enemy team can win. So as soon as I get something to shoot at, I am going to try and draw their attention. Hello, Großer first. Here, hello, low health cruiser spotted. Shoot at me, because I am trusting my ability of dodging more than that Seattle's over there. There comes the shells from the Yamato. They have missed, and nobody has died, and we actually have won the game. Yeah, I really need that. We're winning. Just run away. Chat command. That would be really, really useful in situations like this. But I found it really interesting because it's been a very tactical battle, and obviously we've been fighting a Jinan, and we've been sort of on par. We've traded equally, and given that we're tier lower, that's an interesting observation. The second round is a bit of a division play, really. So we have a Malta, Smolensk, Black Shimakaze division. And the enemy team's got a Midway, Ohio, Worcester division. So that's going to get interesting. We're playing Epicenter and Cage, and it's obviously yet again another tier 10 game. Midway, Ohio, Black, Großer Kurfürst, Yamato, Worcester, Gearing, and Fletcher. And we do, yeah, like I said, have a Smolensk on our side. Now, the big question is going to be, how effective are these 2 divisions going to be? But we'll make ourselves useful, because this is Cage, and on Cage there are some interesting spots. And given that the friendly team is a little low on the AA in the division, I mean, Smolensk isn't terrible, but I'm going to try and cover the airstrikes if I can, because while I'm extremely fragile, I do have fuel smokes, and I have defensive AA, and this is a slightly boosted AA build. So we'll see if we can take the initial strike from the enemy. I think it was a Midway. We can take the initial Midway strike rather than the Black Shima, because he's going to get air spotted by the fighters. So I'm spotted now as well, and we'll see if he goes for the Shima. No, he goes for me. Perfect. Okay, defensive AA up and smoke up. Now obviously the dive bombers have locked on at this point, and it's a Midway, so it's going to be triple fire. There we go, triple fire Damakond. But the torpedo planes are now going to have to wait until my smoke has dissipated, because and they're going to have to fly around in our AA bubbles. So we're already shooting them down. I don't know what they were dropping on, but none of these planes is coming back, and that hopefully dissuades the Midway from coming in here. Now I'm obviously taking fire, but I can heal that back, and we've taken down 12 airplanes. And that means the Midway has left our Shima alone. There is a Fletcher. Hello, Mr. Fletcher. I do really need to have to use the armor piercing here, but I'm obviously in a dangerous spot, so I do need to back away because there are going to be torpedoes coming. I'm air spotted, and there are some long-range guns out there which can make very, very short work of me. But the Udaloy is in a good position. The Malta is going after the Fletcher, who has just Damacon a double fire from my side, so I think the Fletcher is about to die. Yep, Udaloy takes down the Fletcher. Nice. Which means we should have secured the center cap. Unless, obviously, the carrier has something to do about it. But it looks like the carrier is no longer wanting to come in our general direction. I can't poke out too much to use my AA guns here. But I do have the Midway spotted. Hello, Mr. Midway. You appear to be in gun range. Well, that's not me spotted. That's the Udaloy doing the Lord's work over there. But yeah, Udaloy just got woosted because, well, hasn't stuck close enough to the. I'm not in torpedo range. Hasn't stuck close enough to the island, unfortunately. But I think I've left it a little too long with backing off. That might come back to bite me if anybody of these people is deciding to shoot at me. But it's too tempting, and we've taken down the Midway. There's the gearing, so let's get let's switch back to the armor piercing, and they're obviously going to be gearing torpedoes in the water. I don't need no sonar to spot those, but they are retaking the center cap. But the gearing has paid very dearly, and if the Malta is paying any attention, because gearing isn't, because he's shooting at me. Come on, take him down. Can you get him? Yep, nicely done, Malta. And that means we should be able to retake the center cap. Now, I'm just going to go unspotted because they have no destroyers left. And while they do have a wooster, yep, there we go, unspotted. Black Shima doesn't have to go in the center, and the carrier is dead. Shima is kind of lurking at that island there, but I can take the center cap. That's fine. I've got a fuel smoke if I need it. Can I get torpedoes away at that Yamato? Not a good angle, but I don't really have anything else to torpedo here, so I may as well. I'm going to get air spotted. I'm just going to def AA the fighters and then use the fuel smoke to get behind the island before the Yamato gets shots off at me. But I think the Yamato also hasn't been paying attention. And Shima is coming along. There's really no threat at this point anymore. And we can just obliterate that poor Yamato over there. I don't know where the Worcester went. But yeah, that's a torpedo hit and a triple permafire and a permaflood, and that's a very dead Yamato. So there's still a black GK over there, and Worcester is probably hanging around somewhere there, but not sure where. There was still an Ohio in the game somewhere, but we're now controlling the center cap, and I'm just going to make myself scarce here, dodge the incoming gunfire from that was probably Worcester AP. Black GK is on triple permafire, so. I am just going to drop some torpedoes. I mean, he might be... I don't know what he's going to do, but I'm just going to use my last fuel smoke, drop some torpedoes in that general direction, and I have reloaded the tubes on the other side as well. Shima has found the Worcester, I think. Yep, there he is. So I can use the other side's torpedoes as well. If the Großer Kurfürst keeps sailing on that course, he's going to be dead. If he's going to run into my... Nah, the Malta has taken him out already. Well played by the Malta. The Ohio has gotten the Shima. And I'm just going to be a torpedo boat because I have no need to open water gunboat. I can just drop some torpedoes in the general direction of these two. Now Worcester obviously does have sonar, and so Ohio seems to be perma-flooding. So let's see if we can add a fire to the mix, and immediately go defensive because they don't have anything else to shoot at. But Worcester seems to not have the sonar ready. Can I get the torpedoes away from the other side? Yeah, Worcester's going to run into 3 of my torps. Nice. And the Ohio has just been taken down by the Izumo. Worcester has damaconed the fire, so the flood. So Malta just wipes him off the face of the earth, as Malters do. And there we are. So I won't say. I mean. I won't say I've carried the game, because I certainly haven't. The Malta has done an excellent job here, but I feel like I've contributed, let me put it that way. Just by taking down this initial airstrike, and after that the carrier has decided wisely not to go after me anymore. And very well played by the team on our side, and I think just the addition to that little division on my part hopefully has made a little bit of a difference. Anyway, So, Sejong, that is an excellent Tier 9 cruiser, and I'm thoroughly enjoying this ship. Now, you can play it as a pure scout cruiser, but the AA, in my opinion, is good enough to play a support cruiser as well, actually, if you need to. And you have the potential to do a lot of damage with these torpedoes if you can get them on target. You don't have quite the range on everything as you have on the Jinan at tier 10, but you also tier 9, which means you get occasionally into tier 8 battles. So I would say that is a very, very fun tier 9 scout cruiser, and I'm thoroughly going to enjoy the grind up to the Jinan at tier 10. And that's it for me today. Thanks everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.